rather than worry about the big scary thing, try and break it down into the smallest possible components, right? And just get a 1% improvement. And then all those 1% add up. In the early start of your career, or certainly in my career, I tended to focus on the numbers, and you do a lot of reading around sales, and it's all about the numbers and the techniques and the processes, and you absolutely need all of that. However, over my career, the more I focused on my people and their mindset and their emotions, and making them feel relaxed so that they can execute, the better results we've seem to have been. And so my philosophy is that really focus on your people and allowing them to, play freely, and usually you'll get much better outcome.
Okay. And when you say impact on your people, is it the people in your company and your clients? Like, can you help me paint a better picture of like what's going there and how you do that on a big scale, since you manage so many different regions?
Yeah. I mean, for sure, you focus on your customer and you're trying to help add value to whatever it is that they're trying to achieve. But the answer I gave was more in line with the people that I manage. So there's around 130 people in my team. We're hiring all the time, right? And so you've got to try and make good decisions and then help them kind of get to grips with that. And what I found in my career is salespeople tend to live in two places, like hope and fear. Those are the two kind of driving emotions, right? Like, oh my God, I hope this goes well. What if it doesn't? Even if, sometimes I'll call somebody into my office just for a chat, and they kind of tense up a little bit. And so if people are in a slightly less than relaxed state, how well are they going to take on board the coaching or training or advice, or that you're trying to give them? So over the years, I just developed a set of principles that I use to kind of drive how we think and act as a team, and anchor back to those principles when we have that conversation, so that I'm not picking on you, Josephine. I'm just trying to help unpack whatever the challenge might be for you, so that you can get over it.
That's really great. So you have like a superhuman touch or approach to it. How do you take people out of that fear? Because when the quarter's coming up and you haven't hit target, I'm guessing there's going to be a lot of fear there.
Yeah, for sure. So it comes back to these principles, and the first one is it's a Japanese management philosophy called Kaizen, actually originally invented in America. And basically it's continuous improvement through incremental gain. What that means is, rather than worry about the big scary thing, try and break it down into the smallest possible components, right? And just get a 1% improvement. And then all those 1% add up, right? So you think about your number, right? It's a scary big number, typically at the start of the year. And it's like, okay, fine. But worrying about that big scary thing actually doesn't help you execute, doesn't help you plan, doesn't help you at all, really. It just doesn't make you feel particularly great. So, but if you go back to the smallest things that actually produce the number, actually that's a lot more easy to digest for somebody. So, when I'm in, one of our offices around the world, I'll often say, particularly to kind of the new people that come in, right, hands up if you've worried about your number. And for the most part, hands go up, and I go, okay, that's fine, right? I get that. That's human. That's you wouldn't be human if you weren't, full of emotions and concerns, and it's part of how we are, right? But how much have you worried about trying to improve your demo 1%, or your elevator pitch 1%? Because those are the things that if you do that, and I'm only asking for 1%, actually will help the number. Whereas worrying about the number doesn't help at all. So that's the way I've tried to help people say, okay, I am worried about that thing, but these are the small things I can do. And they're bite-sized things that people go, actually, I probably could improve my demo 1%. That doesn't seem too hard. And then hopefully the data and the numbers show over a period of time, hey, look, your demo's got a lot better, and you're now getting more opportunities through to whatever the next stage might be.
So a little bit of like compound interest going on there.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
It
I
just
never
adds
thought
up.
about it like that. Yeah, I came to it through a blog post I read a long time ago about British cycling, Dave Brailsford, and he had something called Medal or Nothing, and he did exactly that. He had a big performance improvement to try and drive, and he focused on all the details, every component of the bike, every component of the rider, even really small things like every hotel they went to, each athlete would take their own customized mattress. Because you've got kind of short, powerful people, tall, skinny people, and all for different kinds of cycling races. And so that was to maximize their ability to rest and recover. And I read that, and that was the first time I made the link of, oh, okay, that's how I help people get through that fear.
That's so cool. That normally happens where you're reading something that's not related to work or being a CRO, and it gives you so much insight, and it just like activates some kind of your Eureka moment. So pretty cool. Okay.
Yeah. So we were dead lucky, and then over the year, I saw how that works. And so when I'm sitting somebody down and I'm saying, hey, Josephine, like, you, I don't know, whatever, however you're targeted, right? It doesn't seem to be going so well. You'll tense up a little bit, of course, right? And then I'll say, okay, so how do we Kaizen this? And straight away, it's not now about you, it's about that process that we do here. And you go, oh, okay, yeah. And then we start to figure it out together. You relax and you play looser.
So you stop thinking about like the end goal, and you think about like the small things that you can break down and the things that you can control right now. That's
great. Exactly that. Manage the process, not the number. If you manage all the component things, the product at the end of it should be perfect.
Brill. Okay. So how do you do this at scale? So I imagine you're talking to a lot of your VPs of sales. How do you bring this philosophy and empower them to do that same philosophy that you've taken throughout your career?
Yeah, and the first thing is buy-in, right? Do they buy into it? Do they? Because there are some challenges with Kaizen, and so I've worked hard on that. Like, try to help them, try to show them, try to sometimes lead sessions for them with their teams. It's since been adopted company-wide as one of our kind of core tenets of the company. But again, if you've been in sales leadership for a long time, you're very aware of that emotional element, and hopefully they have the similar moment I did. I've not invented Kaizen. I just found it, and it made complete sense to me. So I try to walk them through that, and then they'll run Kaizen sessions. So for example, we'll say, okay, what are 3 things going super well, 3 things going and then 3 things not going well at all, right? And it's like, okay, how do we mitigate the bottom 3? How do we improve the middle 3? And how do we accelerate or magnify what's already going well? And it's got to be small things. And if we do that, again, people see the teams relax and people start hitting target. And with the exception of Q2 last year, we've not missed a target, knock on wood, for a long time.
Okay, and it's precisely because of this Kaizen method.
I put it down to some of that, yeah. There's a lot goes into it, right? You've got to have a good relationship with finance to make sure that the plan's actually achievable and attainable, and all of that good stuff. You've got to have a great product. There's a lot that goes into it, but certainly I think that's got an element of our success. Again, if you believe in Kaizen, you don't really believe in a single silver bullet, right? So, but I think it's one of the components that's helped us, become the company we are.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. So, Jamie, you obviously spoke about this thing that like pushes you in a specific direction. I've read that CROs, you need to ensure there's like alignment between sales and marketing, and you're responsible for the sales and marketing function. But another part of it is you have to identify opportunities for growth. What are your thoughts there? How do you go about doing that? Is that something that you're responsible for?
Yeah, I'm responsible for a lot of it, but
everything.
But again, one of our other core kind of principles is teamwork, right? So, I'm not just the only guy in the company thinking about growth and opportunities and plans. And I think it's important to have a culture where it doesn't really matter about your role or seniority or any of that, right? Everyone's got some exposure to what we're trying to do here, and so we try and work on it as a team. As I said, be that a senior leadership team, or maybe we're a software company, right? We have a ping pong table, so maybe I'm playing ping pong with an SDR, and they've got an idea, and you've just got to be open and sensitive to that. And so I actually call my management team Kaizen. So if you wanted to email us, it's, you know, Kaizen at, right?
Yeah.
And so we talk about these things a lot. We have Kaizen meetings, we have Kaizen quarterly reviews, all trying to get these lots of little kind of incremental gains. Or, you know, when you're in a rapid scale up like we are, even the right things go wrong after a while, because you're just scaling so quickly that, you know, I think the company hired 49 people last quarter. We have 76 open roles right now. It's like the growth is ridiculous. And so, you know, even there's a really good quote actually from the Drift CRO, and he says, the problem with scale ups is it takes you 6 months to figure out what you need and 6 months to implement it. And by the time you've done that, it's obsolete. And there's a lot to that, right? So you're always kind of looking at what was working and isn't now, and what do you need to do to fix that, and go through that. And marketing is no different. So, you know, marketing have 2 or 3 leaders as part of my overall management team, and we're hopefully all super connected, and there's always lots of challenges, there's lots to get right, there's lots that need improvement or changing, or, you know, whatever. But again, if everybody's bought into the Kaizen philosophy and one of the teamwork principles, as best we can, then hopefully you'll win more than you lose, I guess.
Yeah, that is a really big thing that you mentioned, because you have a plan, but then because things are changing so quickly, if you've set this motion and you realize it's not working, you have to pivot. Or even if something's working, you might have to think of a step 3, step 4, and step 5.
Right.
So having this philosophy there kind of motivates everyone, regardless of your role, to take action using the Kaizen method, thinking about the next steps.
Yeah, completely. Mike Tyson said everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. Right? So that it's similar in scale up SaaS, right? You can have the best plan in the world that's beautifully crafted, and then something comes along and you know, you've got to change things, or you've got to try and adapt. So we've kind of been exclusively in the enterprise space for years, and then we acquired a company that operated in the SMB space, and that was a huge impact. And then all of a sudden it wasn't like, hey, all these leads go to this one team. Now it's like, well, how do we make a decision about what leads go to what team? And that's, you know, causes furious debate amongst everybody. And we just ultimately have to pick a line and then go, okay, let's just keep our eye on that, and know that whilst we may be, you know, having some fairly tense discussions from time to time, it's only because we all want to win. We all want to do the right thing, and we all want to succeed. And so we have to kind of, you know, again, that's our third principle, courage and humility. You've got to have the courage to make the change, and the humility to accept you may not have it right, regardless of your role and your title or any of that. So that's how we try and execute as best we can.
That is really cool. So humility, once you get punched in the face, you admit that it really hurts and you need to try something else.
or even, you know, a much lower level, be it you know, sales development, or if you're an AE or any of those things, right? Like, so many times it's like, why did you win the deal? Well, it's because I'm awesome. Okay, cool. Why did you lose the deal? Oh, it was something over there. It was nothing to do with me, the product, or the something wrong with the prospects. Or you could have humility to go, maybe it was me. Maybe I could improve. And I over my career, I've seen successful salespeople correctly look at risks, actually try to seek out risks in the deal, not convince themselves it's all going to be okay. That's hope and fear talking, right? I've seen them say that they're going to try the new technique that you're asking them to try, but they don't. They just try their old way and then wonder why things aren't working. And so, you know, again, something that we have on some of the walls in some of the sales offices, I expect you to try, I expect you to fail, and I expect you to try again. And that middle part's really, really important, right? If I ask you to change a process, change a technique, do something different, right? You're not going to get it right straight out the gate. And so the way most people react to that is they go back to their old way of doing things. And so nobody evolves. So you've got to kind of come out your comfort zone, fail a little bit, sit down with your boss or, you know, your peers and get in a room and go, right, that didn't work. What was the thing that didn't work? Okay. And keep trying to iterate that until eventually you've changed and you're now more successful.
That makes a lot of sense. Are there any ways where you see it's really easy, or it's like the most effective way to get reps or to get your SDRs to change their behaviors? Because they could know from the top level that it's really important to change and try again, but there must be something there that's stopping them. Do you use any data, or is it just the way that you speak to them and just showing that you're there for them, sitting them down?
Yeah, a combination of all of the above, really. Again, back to, I sound like a broken record, I know, but if you've done a good job of explaining your principles and why they exist, hopefully they're coming in a little bit more neutral, not as stressed or not as tense or not feeling as analyzed, right? So it's like, hey, the data clearly shows us here that you're not doing very well at this part of the sales process. Or, in SDR world, maybe it's they're not targeting the right personas, or they've not quite got the ICP down, or their qualification core's not quite good, or not in line with their peer group. Quite often just one question, what do you think that is the first time that they've decided, okay, well, and they try and reflect on it, right? And again, you need such a hard veneer as a salesperson, because even on your best day, you're going to hear no 60% of the time.
Yeah.
That veneer sometimes stops you doing that self-reflection. So that's some of the things that we encourage. And then, we put a lot into our people, training and enablement, and, these reflection periods and team meetings and all this stuff. And then before COVID hit, we all used to get together for a kickoff. Last couple of years, it was in Miami. And again, that's just a kind of a huge magnified version of what I've just described. So day one's kind of about a celebration about what we did the previous year and how well everybody's done, and why we feel that may have happened. It's my VP of HR.
Okay.
The second day then is typically dedicated to, like, okay, let's Kaizen our particular function or team, or whatever it might be, and how do we get those improvements? What commitments do we want to make, so that when we go back from kickoff, we're actually going to try and implement those. And then the last day, we try to dedicate to some of the new stuff coming in the product, because that's always kind of exciting in a software company, and actually celebration. One of the downsides of Kaizen is when you move forward so incrementally, sometimes it doesn't feel like you're progressing and you're moving. It's only when you look back and you go, wow, we just, in H1, we've already done our 2019 target, that you've realized that these lots of small steps are actually adding up to a bigger thing.
That's why you need to kind of celebrate it, to kind of cement that Kaizen's actually working.
Right, that's the zoom out part, right? Or you can sit down with some of your individual salespeople and say, hey, do you remember when you had a problem? How's that going now? I'm crushing it. Yeah, I can see your close rate's gone from X to Y, and that gives them that sense of, right, okay, this is working. It is worth the effort and the challenge that you have to go through when you're trying to change. And it changes all the time in scale-ups.
Yeah, because everything's moving so quickly. You need to take note of what you're doing well, but also what you need to improve on. Focus on the small things. It takes that pressure off, and then you're able to look neutrally at the situation and then move on from there. That is cool. Okay, Jamie, one last question from you. So if you were in a room full of CROs, is there a burning question that you would want an answer to?
Oh, good question. I mean, I'm actually part of a couple of groups of CROs, but it tends to be more kind of what's top of mind right now. So I'll get questions about enterprise, because we've been in enterprise for so long, and I've typically got questions about how are they tackling certain challenges in their corporate or SMB space if they operate there. International expansion is always one that a lot of CROs talk about as you grow into other territories, and how they've approached that, and what the kind of the lessons they learned and the pitfalls that they found. And
so now that you're going from enterprise to SMB, are there any burning questions that you would want an answer to from other CROs who've been in the game for a lot longer, SMB game?
Yeah, just two things. Where do you draw the line, and why? Right. So SMB is very easy to say. What does that actually mean? Is that companies under a certain revenue line? Is that companies under a certain employee size? A combination, right? And then the other thing is, how do you cope with people in that part that have a more advanced enterprise need? Do they then suddenly switch to the enterprise team, or do you try to teach your SMB and corporate teams how to sell the enterprise version of the product? Or and we've seen all kinds of different approaches. We picked a particular track. Me and my management team are getting together middle of September to look at how that's been going through the year. We're doing super well. We're ahead of plan, but like I said earlier, you've always just got to kind of test for, is it going as well as you think it is, and is there opportunities to improve, and kind of debate that, try and pick a path forward. So yeah, those would be my most immediate questions.